Got a lot of light in the background, man. Anyway, whoa, welcome in. We're back. We had an eventful month. We were in Arizona and Miami and kind of traveling all over Florida. So we had to do this the last week in April. And a lot of things are changing. A lot of things are coming through. But we are back for another cooking demo. So, a few things going on today which are very exciting. We're going to make a carrot miso dressing that we're going to put on top. Actually, let me get started with this because I did not. We're not going to be doing sweet potatoes because, truth be told, I forgot to get them. So we're going to be making this with rice. Kind of nothing really changes, except instead of serving it in, a sweet potato, we're just going to be serving it with the side of rice. So not too much is going to really change here, which is a pretty good thing. Like the only difference would be you're baking a sweet potato on top of kind of what we're doing instead of making rice. So I got my rice on the stove. I'm going to bring it to a boil. It might not even be done by the time this is done, but we'll see. But what we're going to do first, what I decided to do is we're going to actually, you'll see here, is that I actually have some asparagus. And I decided, I was thinking maybe I'll do broccoli or something. I was like, you know what? It's beginning of asparagus season. We're going to roast some asparagus. So what I wanted to do was make like a quick dressing glaze to kind of put this in. So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to a bowl here. I'm going to do, I like using like miso and maple. I think it's a nice combination. If I can get it open. So a little bit of maple syrup. And I'm going to add the rest. Now I have another container of miso because we're going to be using miso again for the carrot dressing we're going to make. I'm going to add a touch. So I'm going to add some miso here. And this container is done. So let me get rid of that. And I'm going to add a touch of rice wine vinegar for acidity. Sometimes I don't even put this, but just a touch. Give a little bit of a different kind of hint, different flavor. So, to make this glaze, we're just going to give this a whisk. We want to get this, as we can see here, bring it down a little bit. We're going to get our miso paste kind of involved as best we can here. And like, one thing I noticed, being away from the kitchen for 2 weeks was there were points where I really wanted to get back into it. But there were also we went to some restaurants, man, particularly in Miami, that were incredible and creative. And it really got me to want to kind of push, new limits and try new things. And, definitely received a bit of, inspiration from going down there. That's pretty good. It does need a little salt though. So I don't want to add more miso paste here, but it definitely could use a little salt. I could add more miso paste instead. Always nice to get some of those benefits from, fermented foods. That's really good. So we're going to treat this because this is an oil base. We're just going to kind of massage this in. Should probably get a spoon for this. This will work a lot better. Let me do that. Into our asparagus, and we're going to let these roast. I'm going to have to rinse out that bowl because we're going to use it to make our sauce for our chickpeas and vegetables. So what I'm going to do is give that a rinse quick. But one thing I noticed on the trip that was great is just so many different creative takes using different plants. And it was really kind of interesting to just try, some other people's foods. Now, that being said, I don't think anything compares to a really good home cooked meal, but there's a reason some chefs get paid to do what they do. And, one of the reasons that I enjoy going out to eat once in a while is more so to try what other people are doing. So and see where I can expand my own horizon. So I'm gonna pop that in the oven. My rice is almost coming to a boil. I'm going to just give this bowl here a quick rinse because we're going to use it to make our kung pao chickpea, sauce. So we're going to add at the end here. It also looks like my rice is coming to a boil, which is good. And then we can kind of bring this together here. So let me lower the heat on that and cover it so that rice can cook. In the interim, good scaling. We'll come back here. So we have our blue bowl. Once again, let's come a little closer. Get a better angle here. There we go. There we go. So we're going to make our sauce here for this. So for the sauce, there's a few ingredients. We're going to start with tamari, which is always the base. That's going to bring that salty kind of flavor. So definitely some soy sauce. I use tamari. It's a gluten-free version of soy sauce. I honestly think the flavor is better. That's my opinion. But, try both, see what you like. Rice wine vinegar, it's a staple in many just Asian dishes in general. We're going to be using it here. Now, the ingredient that's going to kind of make this stand out a bit is this red wine vinegar. Just give it a shake. So you don't see a ton of this, but this is an easy way to make a quick kind of sauce for this. And then to kind of cut the acidity of using two different vinegars, we're going to, again, use a little bit of maple here to kind of get through that. So those are the four main ingredients. Now we're going to add one more, but I want to make sure the flavor's there first. So you're looking for something that's on the more vinegary side. This does need to be a little sweeter though. And not overly salty. If you ever had kung pao chicken or anything like that, it tends to be more on the tangy side. A little bit more over there. I tend to be pretty judicious with this, but I think this needs a little bit. And that is going to bring us home. Now, obviously, this is very thin, right? This has the viscosity of water. So how are we going to thicken this? Well, the key is going to be adding some cornstarch, but I like using arrowroot powder. So normally I would make a slurry with this, but because this is already a liquid base, I'm just going to slowly add it and whisk it in. I'm going to try not to avoid clumps as much as possible. You can use a whisk. Definitely a better idea than a fork, but we're going to break as much of this down as possible. This is what's going to thicken this up at the end of the day. And you don't need a ton of it because we're not really going to cook this sauce for long. What you'll notice is if you're making any kind of play on an Asian dish or like a Chinese takeout dish, cornstarch or arrowroot powder That's going to be the one that gives it that sticky glaze type of texture that you're really looking for. Now, obviously, we got to make it. So we're going to be doing a few things at once here. We're going to be going over to our stove, and I want to make sure I have my picture so I know what is going on here. Okay. So we have our pan, and today we're using this large skillet that I got from Extrema. Let me open the window for this, actually. Give me a second. Get some air, some circulation in here. So this is a completely ceramic pan. I like cooking with ceramic, more inert than any of the other heavy metals that you can deal with. It's nice to use. It takes a little bit getting used to, but I know that, I don't have to deal with anything like PFOAs, Teflon, any other heavy metals because this is, ceramic. So a little bit of olive oil to start us off. We're on like a medium heat. What we're going to do to kick this off is start with I have some red onion, I have some garlic, and I have some scallions. And I have like the light green parts and the whites. I saved the scallion green tops. We're going to use that as a garnish. And we'll start breaking this down kind of as we kind of go here. So a little bit of salt. Now you can do this at a higher heat, which I'm actually going to turn it up because I want to get a little bit of caramelization here. But I don't want to burn the garlic. So you kind of have to be a little bit judicious with how you do it. But as this onion breaks down, we'll get kind of closer to where we need to be. I want to flip this, so there we go. And we'll let this kind of do its thing. Now, the last thing that we're going to be making is a carrot miso ginger dressing, which sounds as delicious as it's actually going to be. Now, in there already is, if we go to my blender over here, we have some carrots. We have some ginger and garlic. Now, we do want to make this, give it the Asian flair it wants. We also want to add some salty umami type flavor. So how do we do that? Again, this is where the miso comes in. So we're getting not only some of the fermentation benefits, but of getting more probiotic foods. But we're getting a ton of flavor. Again, it's about balancing those 5 main flavor profiles. You got salty, you got sweet, you got umami, you got bitter, and you got tangy. So, sour. So we got some umami in there. Some salty. I'm just going to give my vegetables a stir quickly. And really what we're looking for is this onion to kind of get a little bit of browning. And so it kind of breaks apart as we go. But we will come back to that. So what else are we adding here? We're going to add a little bit of sesame oil for flavor. This is optional. If you want to limit your oil intake, this could obviously be omitted. But since we're not cooking this, it's really just going in here. I like adding a little bit of it for flavor. And then we have some ginger, I mentioned that, and a little bit of rice wine vinegar for that acidity. So we're going to add a little bit of that. And then finally, we're going to add about half a cup of water to kind of bring it together. Then we're going to give this a spin here. So, oh, I didn't even turn this on. Okay, thought it was on. This is looking a little bit too much like a paste for me. So I'm going to add a little bit more water here. Again, this is, you can kind of adjust as you go, but the water should help with the consistency. All right, so let's give this a taste. Wow. Man, that should go in a bottle. That is delicious. I don't even have anything to add to that. That is rare that you nail something on the first try, but boy, is that good. So we're going to let that sit. Now you'll notice, as we come back over here, take a look at some of our veggies here. I'm getting some browning and that onion, which is good. That's kind of what we're looking for. And in a second, I want to break some of that garlic up. In a second, we're going to add some ginger to kind of round it out. So when you're making, Asian dishes, you really want to go for the holy trinity, which is ginger, garlic, scallion. That is kind of the place you want to be. Is just by adding all that. We're also going to be adding some cashews. We're going to kind of toast them down. Now, usually you would do this with peanuts. I just don't happen to have peanuts. So this is kind of what we're going with. Plus, I'm not going to lie, I absolutely love cashews. I think cashews get a bad rap sometimes because they have some omega-6 fatty acids. But here's the thing. If you're eating whole cashews, all nuts are going to have some benefit, and they all have a variety of different nutrients and minerals that most people don't end up getting, and that includes cashews. Now, if you've been around this show, you know that cashews are one of my favorite nuts to cook with because they're just so versatile. So I actually really enjoy cooking with them, and I think we should celebrate. I actually use some to make a cauliflower soup to bring some rich creaminess to it, along with using navy beans. It was navy or cannellini. It was a white bean because I wanted to keep the color. So we're going to toast all this for a minute or two. And then what we're going to do is make actually a salad dressing to go on our salad, which is also going to be fairly simple, but we're going to use our miso paste again. So miso is getting multiple uses today. Again, one of my favorite ingredients. I absolutely adore, love cooking with miso paste. It's one of my absolute favorites. And yeah, I mean, there's just so much good that comes with it. We're going to get a nice toast here. I'm just going to add a sprinkle of salt before we add our chickpeas. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping in the background as that toast. Again, it being part of the one-man kind of show, it's, well, got a lot of little things to do kind of in the interim. So I did mention making a salad, of course, to kind of go with this. So I have some red kale that I found at the local market that looked absolutely delicious. So I'm like, let's use it. So we're using that. And some red cabbage. Now, I'm going to go in with our chickpeas. Going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, give this a stir. And then we're going to add our sauce. Again, just a pinch, nothing too crazy. Again, I know I have this big bag of black pepper, but when we were making our hot sauces, this is kind of the smallest bag to have, which was a pound. But hey, I got to take some home with me. By the way, our jalapeno astragalus hot sauce is going to be coming hopefully soon. So we put the official order in for the hot sauce today, and we're just really excited about it. So hopefully, we'll be bringing that to you soon. All right, so as that cooks for a minute, what I'm going to do is check on my asparagus, give them a toss, because they've been in the oven for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And unfortunately, this oven doesn't have a convection setting, meaning there's no fan to circulate the heat. So you have to be a little bit more, I guess, diligent about moving stuff around. It's a little tougher to cook everything evenly that way. But like any oven, you know, you just kind of get used to its little intricacies as you go along. So now everything's kind of warmed through. We got to add the final part of this, which is the sauce, which we have here. So we have our sauce ready to go. Just want to give it a whisk. And we're going to pour it in. And this is going to thicken up really quick. So you want to kind of be on top of it. So what you want to do, and at this point, because this is ceramic and ceramic holds heat, I'm going to actually shut this off very soon. What I want to do is make sure this sauce thickens up rather nicely. I'm actually going to cut the heat here because this is an electric stove and a ceramic pan, meaning
the change in temperature is rather slow. But you do want to kind of coat everything as you go and cook it down. But this is going to retain heat for a bit. So what it's going to do is kind of continue to cook even though the heat's off. And this is just something you kind of pick up over time as you cook using different pans, different, metals. It just comes with some repetition, knowing your pans, knowing your stove. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of electric stoves, even though they might save a little bit of energy. They really, if you're trying to do things quick, or if there's some skill in changing temperatures, they're not the best at responding quickly. Wow, that is delicious. So I do want to stir this a little bit longer, and then I'm just going to move it off heat where it'll cool and kind of be ready to go. Wow. So some of that sugar from the maple syrup kind of cooks off, and that flavor gets exaggerated a bit, but you definitely get the vinegar, acidic punch from the two different types of vinegar. And then you're getting some crunch from the cashews, or you could use peanuts. That's killer. Wow. So I'm just going to move this off heat. It'll continue to cook. I'll put this actually on low. But we're going to kind of leave that as is. In the interim, we're going to make a dressing for our salad here. Now this one we're going to use tahini as the base, which means I need a spoon. Okay. And this is a brand new jar. You'll notice maybe all the oil on the top. That's simply the sesame oil that comes off from grinding the sesame seeds. This also tends to be a thicker one, so I'm going to add, looks like a bit of water to this. That's all right. And that's a trick. Having like room temperature water is going to help thin out a dressing like this. So I need another spoon. So let me grab that. And again, this is going to be kind of like our umami bomb for this. And that's going to be very thick, these two ingredients. So going to need to add a bit of water to kind of thin this out. But we also need to add some sort of acid, because these are a lot of rich flavors. What's going to cut through that? Our rice vinegar. And rice vinegar tends to be a little sweeter. I try not to get one with the added sugar, so it's not as sweet. But as far as vinegars go, rice wine vinegar tends to be a little bit sweeter. Also going to add a little bit of water and give this a mix. If the consistency is right, then I'll adjust if I need to add salt or something like that. But this is going to be a super, super simple dressing. We just got to get it all to kind of come together. Actually, to do that, I'm going to use a fork instead. So really, this goal in the beginning is to break down this tahini and miso as much as I can. It looks thin, but this is going to get much thicker kind of as this comes together. I don't know. I just want to check on my rice quick. This is looking pretty close to done. Actually, yeah. All right. So a trick with rice here. But before we finish whisking that, trick with rice is when it's done, you should be able to fluff it. But to get that last bit of water to evaporate, what you do is I'm going to take it off heat, but I don't want to keep it on this burner because it stays hot. What I'm going to do is keep it off heat, but leave it open, uncovered for a few minutes. So that last bit of water is going to evaporate so you don't get, wet, soggy rice. No one likes that. Unless you're doing like a rice porridge or something. But that's not what we're doing. So you notice almost all of that miso, of that tahini has come down, and now we have a much thicker constituent, which is good. Give it a taste. I'm going to add a little bit more miso because I think it needs a little salt. After that, though, I'm just going to maybe add salt instead because I don't want to make it too thick. And then if you're adjusting back and forth, it's just gets annoying, and adding a little bit of salt will just save time. Let's make sure this is all good here. That's really good. Okay. So we have a salad dressing. So we are pretty good to go here. We actually just need to dress our salad. So let's do that. So I apologize. Let me actually turn that light on. It's a little better. Because that glare is pretty rough. So I'll put that over our salad here. And that's super easy. Tahini, miso paste, and water. And rice wine vinegar. So 4 ingredients. And one of which, is going to be just in your house anyway. Granted, most of these are all kind of staple ingredients. And the last thing I'm going to add, just because, even though there's tahini in the dressing, just some sesame seeds for texture. I've actually never made this specific salad, so granted, the steps are more or less always the same, but you never know with new ingredients, kind of how everything's going to come together. So we're going to learn that together today. Now, usually that orange carrot dressing that I made, that carrot ginger dressing, carrot ginger miso, I put on top of like a roasted Japanese potato, sweet potato. But obviously we didn't end up using it. So how am I going to use that dressing? I'm actually not too sure. I could have used it for the salad. But why not use another technique when you can? So our rice is coming together. That looks good. Our chickpeas look really freaking good. The last thing we need to check on as we kind of clean up a little bit, so bear with me, is our asparagus, which should be close to done. So that's another thing. Like, as you get more comfortable, you kind of figure out like cook times, and you kind of get a general sense for when certain things are going to be done. The more we can come over here. the more time you spend in the kitchen, the more time you're cooking in general. You get more comfortable with your equipment. You get more comfortable with ingredients, and a lot of this stuff just becomes, just another step, man. Another just thing you kind of get into habit. But that only comes with the repetition. So, if there's anything that you can do for your health, if there's one thing, I would say getting in the kitchen and learning that. As you know, I think cooking is actually a survival skill. So, I think it's something everyone should know how to do to some degree. No one has to be, a 5-star Michelin chef, but knowing the basics, knowing how to use a knife, knowing how to, make something that's good, nutritious, and delicious, and make something that your kids would enjoy, your family's going to enjoy, and it's going to be a net positive. Like that to me, is the name of the game. So with that said, let's build a dish. Why don't we? So, how am I going to do this here? I'm going to bring a tray over here. Reason is, this is kind of the serving tray we use, but also, there we go. Maybe not as good. It's kind of like out of focus. There we go. That's better. So let me grab a dish. We can serve this up. The last thing I'm going to do is grab the asparagus. So let me grab I have a hot plate. No, I need this. Woo! Okay, so these asparagus are looking good. What I need to do is move a couple things. One is the salad, because I need this hot plate. And now it's time to serve. My favorite time. Okay. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but we'll get there. So start off with a little rice, little brown rice action. Then gotta get the main attraction, which is our chickpeas, right? So let's grab that. Wow. I could have made more of this sauce, but honestly, the flavor is there. Just kind of pour that a little bit over the top with our rice. Move this. And then we need to get some of our lovely miso asparagus. You can serve this with a little bit of salad. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Let's do that. A little bit. So let's get this a bit more of a proper mix. Now we have more salad. This is more for presentation purposes. but you know, a little bit of some leafy greens and cabbage. Okay. What I can do, just to have some fun with this, is shake over a little bit of that carrot dressing, just as a play. We, of course, want to come over the top with some cilantro, some scallion greens. And then, I get one more spoon because this dish would not be complete without some sesame seeds on top. And in my case, some chili flakes. Because why not? So, there you have it. There's Kung Pao chickpeas. Super quick, super easy. The key, as always, is in the aromatics, cooking those down. And then the sauce. Arrowroot powder is my favorite, but cornstarch works too. If you're going to use corn, please use in organic form, even cornstarch. It makes a difference. Your gut will thank you. Your body will thank you. It's just well worth it. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next month. Some things might be changing, so I'll keep you posted on that. But until then, thank you. Please get in touch with me in the Discord or on Patreon if you want to, have a suggestion for what's next. Much love. Thank you for your time.